And our first guest of the evening on this fast-moving evening is Ghadi Francis, author, journalist and war correspondent, who wants to talk to us about the great crimes still being committed every day in Lebanon, supposedly amidst a ceasefire. Ghadi, what's happened?
It's great to be back again with you. My best regards to you and your team for your steadfastness and your resilience and your stance
Thank you.
pro-life,
Thank you.
pro-Palestine, pro-native people in my region. I mean, everybody is backing out or
Thank you.
chickening out, and you're here with us decade in, decade out, year in, year out. I remember going on your show even long before this war started. I'm glad to be here
Yeah.
tonight to speak about yet another new massacre done by the Israelis in my land, Lebanon. 3 children were assassinated by bombing, and we are living in terms of a ceasefire, of a so-called ceasefire in Lebanon. The Israelis killed 3 children and their father, and the mother is severely injured. This happened in Bint Jbeil around 3 hours ago. This is why I'm glad to be here to voice the struggles of my people once again via your platform.
Well, these were very kind comments, Ghadi. I'm very touched by them, I can promise you. As I promised in Lebanon in 1977, that I will never leave your people, the Palestinian people, standing alone. I promised this to President Arafat in Beirut in 1977, and it is a promise that I have kept and will always keep. There's a ceasefire. Does anybody police it? Are there any consequences for what have been thousands? I think something like 5,000 breaches of the ceasefire by one side, by Israel. Does anyone even comment on it?
Unfortunately, with the siege, with the political siege that we are undergoing in Lebanon, the government is actually talking about the resistance weapons nowadays and disregarding these breaches. So we are not only facing the Israeli aggressions, the Israeli ongoing occupation of land in the border villages of South Lebanon, and the daily Israeli assassinations that are being carried on. War crimes are being committed every day. Drones are being held above our heads every day in Beirut, in the capital, in Baalbek, in South Lebanon. Regardless of all that, you find a newly designed cabinet that is all for Saudi Arabia and all for the United States of America that disregards these breaches and is just chanting one tantrum all day long. They want the Hezbollah weapons. Whereas here in Lebanon, it has been known, a fact, that Hezbollah is a reaction to the aggressions. It's not the actual action. And that when there is actually any kind of protection for the Lebanese people or any kind of enforcement or empowerment to the Lebanese army, there wouldn't be any need for a resistance group. So we are not only living the aggressions of the Israelis nowadays. The United States of America is really enforcing all types of siege on the Lebanese people. They're trying to say that the Lebanese people are against the resistance. They are carrying on political campaigns. Even the propaganda is so loud that you even question yourself nowadays in Lebanon. While we know that more than half the Lebanese population, as per the parliamentary elections, are all for the resistance. Regardless of all that, you find the American envoys being celebrated in Beirut while they're being shamed in New York. For example, Morgan Ortagus, the American envoy in Lebanon, is being celebrated while she was shamed in New York for voting against the ceasefire in Gaza. So in Lebanon, as you know, being here for decades and following the Lebanese politics, the Israelis are not only on the other side of the borders, they have their own lobby inside the Lebanese politics, and it is being very loud today, especially after the most recent war that happened last year, after the assassination of Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah, after all the political spectrum changed in the region with Syria and all these differences in the status quo. They're loud. Their propaganda is very loud, and there is nobody actually talking about the war crimes committed. I mean, for example, a year ago, there was the biggest massacre, a biggest war crime, I mean, in the recent history, the pager attack. One moment, 5,000 or 6,000 people were hit using a civilian communication technology, the pagers. Many of them were children. Children died. Thousands of people lost their fingers or their eyes. And regardless of this being a war crime, it was celebrated by the Americans. It was celebrated by the Israelis. And today, instead of finding a Lebanese government that speaks about it in the UN, in the assemblies, they don't even speak about it. They don't even talk about our rights to condemn or to try Israel for this war crime. No, on the contrary, they are parading with the Americans how and when to disarm Hezbollah. While the southern people today, I'm talking to you, I've been going to the south almost every week for the past year. Some people are still prohibited from removing the rubble of their homes to reconstruct them in most of the border towns. The Lebanese government isn't moving. It's not helping them. It's not protecting them. And it's not even talking against Israel. All the talk today is against Hezbollah.
Now, you mentioned Syria. The former deputy leader of al-Qaeda, the co-founder of ISIS, is back in New York surveying the skyline. It's a different skyline to what it was 24 years ago, but there he was, an honored visitor to New York. They say he may even meet Trump in the White House on this trip. And of course, when you see what the geopolitical outcome of his victory in Damascus has been, the normalization talks admitted taking place in Arab countries between Jolani and his government and the Israeli government, the way in which Israel moves at will in the airspace and on the ground of Syrian territory, taking more territory today, you begin to realize just how significant the American organized, Western-inspired, armed, and Gulf-financed victory of al-Jolani and his al-Qaeda ISIS hordes has been, can't we?
These are very sad days. I mean, this is a person who said he was inspired by the September 11 attacks. And the Americans are happy about him. They gave him ruling in Syria, and they're hosting him in New York. It looks like the end of the world. I mean, how can al-Qaeda person who was inspired by bin Laden vocally saying that, he was openly, freely saying that he is al-Qaeda leader, he bombed mosques, he killed civilians in Iraq, in Syria, and Lebanon. He was responsible for assassinations, for bombings, for attacks, for beheadings. Even the Lebanese army, they beheaded the Lebanese army a few years ago in the Arsal area, which is a borderline place with Syria. All of these attacks, all of these crimes, and he's just appointed now as president. I mean, I don't know, maybe there's one good thing about this. It's like the mask is off. Everybody is showing their true colors. We used to, in the past, we used to say it's all a game, and they're all, even Al-Qaeda or these kinds of terrorist attacks were designed in our region by the Western colonizing powers to further suffocate our countries. And this is true. Look at what they're doing to Jolani. I mean, by any law, this person should be in jail. He has killed hundreds of people openly and said that it's not even, we don't even need to look for clues. And even if he didn't do anything in the past, since his ruling in Syria and up till date, the massacres in Latakia, in Tartus, in Homs, and even in Damascus, in Suwaida, the attacks that were held against the civilians, the unarmed victims that they beheaded and they killed while shooting videos of their crimes in Syria in the past few months, they are they are unbelievable. I mean, I can't even watch these kinds of videos. The kinds of killings and the parading that happened, the killing of the minorities, the killing of Alawites, of Christians, and even of Druze in Syria, and all of this is being disregarded. Whereas the West is still, till date, asking about one girl called Mahsa Amini. I always wonder. I mean, this Iranian girl that we don't really know the whole story about, we have no video footage about what happened to her, is the center of the attention of all the West. Whereas thousands of Syrians that were beheaded in front of cameras, they have no names, they have no rights, they don't even care about. I mean, the mask is off, George. We all know at that point that they don't care about the people of these regions. All they care about is implementing furthermore their agendas and their colonization. For Syria, I don't know how long this Jolani rule can hold on, because nobody buys it, regardless of the Gulf helping them or trying to show themselves as victorious. I mean, does the Gulf really, when we talk about the United Arab Emirates or Qatar or Saudi Arabia, can they afford to have these kinds of takfiri Islamists ruling in their countries? And when they empower people like Jolani, don't they think about the aftermath inside their countries? We're talking about countries where the takfiri ideas and these kinds of radical Islamist ideas can be triggered when you are empowering such a figure in Syria. So I think something is not adding up, and there's a big lie. He's just been put there to implement whatever is in Israel's favor. And we saw they speak no word against Israel, regardless of Israel annexing land, bombing the Syrian Defense Ministry, bombing wherever they want in Syria. They don't care about Syria, these newly appointed so-called politicians, ex-al-Qaeda leaders. All they care about is just finishing their job for their headmasters in the Pentagon and in Washington. And this really makes me question. I mean, years passed, and today, after around 30 years, 25 years of the September 11 attack on America, we can see that the people who were in charge of these attacks have now become presidents in the sponsorship of the Americans. So it all comes down to that. Who really attacked the Americans, and who's the real terrorist around the world?
Yeah, well, perhaps Jolani is simply going home to the United States. Finally, Ghadi, there is some good news, if it is good news, and that is the decision by the British, Australian and Canadian Prime Ministers to recognize the Palestinian state. Your reaction, please.
Well, first of all, Palestine was there before them. So we don't really await their recognition in a way. And if it wasn't for the Balfour Promise by the UK in the first place, the Israelis wouldn't even exist in this place, because they would still be in their homelands, in Poland, in Europe, in Russia, in America, wherever they came from. So it's just like you coming here and taking my home, and then 80 years later bringing me the key for my bedroom. Give me back my home. You took the whole home. Palestine is whole Palestine. Gaza is Palestine. Jerusalem is Palestine. Tel Aviv is on Palestinian land. The true Palestinian land before the annexation and the occupation of Palestine doesn't need to be recognized. It is a truth. They took our land. They took our people. They enforced people to go outside or killed them brutally, just the way they're doing in Gaza today for 80 years. And now they're telling us, here you go. There's a key to half or like 1/4 of your land. I mean, thank you, Europe, but it's all on you. It's because of you that we are struggling for 80 years. It's long overdue. It's better than nothing. Yes, when you talk about politics or geopolitics, it is a nice light in the end of the tunnel, but nothing calls for the celebration, actually, George, because meanwhile, more than 100 people are being killed in Gaza every day. Starvation is still ongoing in Gaza. Tents are being burnt, and the breaching of the basic human rights for the people in Palestine is happening every day. I mean, what can I really do with Macron's statement or Starmer's announcement or Australia's recognition? What does it do to the people who are still stuck between displacement, starvation, and killing in Palestine, in every part of Palestine? I mean, when we talk about Gaza, it's not as if in the West Bank people are living in rainbows. You know, they're struggling the same way, but in different dosages along the years. But the actual brutal apartheid state is still there. If they want to talk about the rights of the Palestinians, let's start by calling what's happening in Gaza a genocide, a human made starvation. And it is all sponsored by all these powers. And if they didn't directly sponsor it, which they are, they just let it happen for 2 years now. So no, thank you. Your recognition can be can help no one while they're being now under the bombs every night in Gaza, you know. At least they should do one good thing for these people and call for a ceasefire. At least they should call for like the actual media of the world to enter Gaza instead of a blackout. Now Gaza is being, after killing of hundreds of journalists, now there's an internet blackout because they found that the Israelis could not hide their crimes anymore. They want to take their time in killing people, teenagers and kids, while they're struggling to find wheat or flour for their families. So now there's a blackout. They can kill freely without anybody asking them about their crimes. So I mean, it's nice title, but on the ground there's too much.
Netanyahu already said today from Washington, from New York, that there will be no Palestinian state. So which state is it that these prime ministers and presidents are recognizing?
There's a lot of talk and a little action, and any action that's happening from these states is the empowerment of Netanyahu and the standing ovations for Netanyahu. This is exactly why this decision doesn't really bring any happiness to my heart, you know.